Root cause of corrupt rule. What is the root cause of corrupt rule? What is the most fundamental change that would prevent power from becoming corrupt? The lordship of man over man is the root cause of all corrupt rule. The only way to reform and change is to accept the sovereignty of God over man. Do not be surprised at hearing such a brief answer to the complex and profound question of the origin of evil in the world today. Search as long as you like for other answers, you will not find any. Let us ask ourselves a few simple questions. Has the earth we live on been made by God or by some other being? Have the human beings who inhabit the earth been created by God or by somebody else? Have all the countless necessities of our lives been provided by God or by somebody else? If the answer to these questions is God, if the earth, human beings and all the things needed to sustain them have been created by God alone, then obviously the land belongs to God, the wealth belongs to God and the people belong to God. In such a situation, how can it be right and proper for anyone to establish his rule on God's earth or govern God's subjects by any law except that of God? Do you find it reasonable that the land be owned by one being but another being rules over it? That a property belongs to one person but some other person is treated as its owner, that the subjects belong to one sovereign but another sovereign reigns over them? Such things clearly run contrary to reality, reason and justice. And because of this, wherever and whenever such a situation is found, the results are always disastrous. Human beings who assume absolute powers to make laws of their own are bound to make mistakes because of their ignorance, and act unjustly and oppressively because of their selfish ends. First, they do not possess sufficient knowledge to frame correct and just laws for human life, and, second, devoid of fear of God and not seeing themselves accountable to God, they assume absolute powers. Being in power, they control people's means of livelihood. They are absolute masters of their lives and properties, they subject them to total obedience. Do you think, therefore, that, in such circumstances, they can be trusted to govern according to the tenets of truth and justice? Can you expect them to be proper trustees of public money? Can you hope that they will refrain from usurping people's rights, from collecting illegal wealth, and from subjugating God's creation to their own desires? Is it possible that such people will follow the right path and encourage others to walk along it? Never, never. Thousands of years of human experience testify to the contrary. Witness those who feel no fear of God today, and are heedless of accountability in the hereafter. How great despots, oppressors, betrayers of trust, and evildoers have they become after they have acquired power. No man should rule over another man. All men should live under the one God. Thus fundamental change is needed in the framework of all human governments. Those who govern must not become masters but, recognizing God as their only sovereign, must rule as his deputies and trustees. They must discharge their responsibilities with the consciousness that ultimately they will have to give an account of their trust to that king, who knows both the seen and unseen. All laws should be based on the guidance of that God, who has knowledge of all realities, who is the source of all wisdom. Nobody has the power to change God's laws or to amend them or to repeal them, otherwise corruption will creep in due to human ignorance, selfishness and desires. What Islam demands from those who submit to God as the real sovereign, their only ruler, and who accept to abide by his laws as brought by his prophet, blessings and peace be on him, is quite obvious. They should rise to bring their king's land under his law, to destroy the power of those rebels among his subjects who have set themselves up as sovereigns, and to free his subjects from the burden of slavery to others. Merely believing in God as God and in his law as the true law is not enough. As soon as you believe in these two things, a sacred duty devolves upon you. Wherever you are, in whichever country you live, you must strive to change the wrong basis of government, and seize all powers to rule and make laws, from those who do not fear God. You must also provide leadership to God's servants and conduct the affairs of their government in accordance with God's laws, remaining fully conscious of living in God's presence and being accountable to him in the hereafter. The name of this striving is jihad. We all know that power can corrupt. Temptations rise within our hearts to behave as gods once we acquire control over the lives and wealth of people. Taking power is less difficult than protecting ourselves from abusing that power when it is taken. The problem is how to stop ourselves turning ourselves into gods rather than being servants of God. For what benefit is it to anyone if we get rid of one pharaoh and promptly replace him with another? Therefore, before calling upon us to undergo this severe trial of having power, Islam considers it necessary to prepare us for it. You have no right to start fighting for power until you have cleansed your hearts of all selfishness. You should develop such purity of heart that when you fight you do not fight for personal or national aggrandizement, but solely to secure Allah's pleasure and to improve the lot of His creation. Merely on the basis of reciting the kalima, Islam does not permit you to wage war against God's creation and do, in the name of God and His Messenger, the same evil acts which the oppressors and rebels of God perpetrate. You must therefore have the necessary strength to shoulder such heavy responsibility.